what I've taken away the most is that the best security is the security that you can provide for yourself. Um, I was working and we didn't get to talk about it, but I actually left my job in June to do
Wow.
my business full time. So I was working for a company. I had been there 10 years and I had come to the point to, I did go to that next level of management training, but I had hit the ceiling. And just like we talked about, when you give 100%, you'll be rewarded at the end, whether it's for you or whether it's not for you. So it came to that cross point where, I had to make a decision, and I seen more security in betting on myself and being exactly what my brand is. As a curator of Superior, I have to, set that example. If I'm telling people to follow their dreams, I have to make sure that I'm following my dreams. So that was a big transition for me. But it taught
Wow.
me to,
So Koko, take us back. Tell us
yeah.
about your brand and tell us when you started it and what you look to provide out to the world with your brand. Tell us a little bit about it.
So I started my brand. I officially launched it in 2016. I came up with the idea in 2014, October 31st. So at the end of this month, it'll be the 4-year anniversary for the brand. So I came up with the brand back when I was in college, and it was, for me, it was another point. I guess I learned a lot through my hard times. When I was at one university, I attended Texas Women's University, and then I went to the University of North Texas, and I went to both schools at the same time. But the one thing that I didn't know, that I didn't get, I didn't seek out all the information. I got a lot of lessons in that. I didn't know my GPA wouldn't transfer over. So I had a 3.8 where I was full time, and then I was part time over here, and I took one class and I got a C in it. And then I had to start at a 2.0. So that was extremely hard for me, knowing how hard I worked for a 3.8, because I was trying to get to that 4.0, then to be knocked back to a 2.0. And that was a time where I felt defeated, but there had to be a lot of talks with myself as far as, I know who I am. I have to be insecure in what I am, regardless of what this paper says. I get it. You guys see me as a 2.0, but I know I'm a 3.8. So
I love that. Right there, like, to just stop and think about that, right? I am not defined by the number 2.0 because I believe I'm a 3.8. I love that. So keep going.
Yes, ma'am. So with that, I had to take classes to try to keep me motivated. So I took fashion classes. I said, let me just pick up a minor in fashion. Let me try it. And that's where I had the idea to start a clothing brand. And all of that all of that emotion and everything that came with it is where the brand was really birthed. And it wasn't until that was 2014. So I came up with the idea. I was like gun ho for it. And then it was after I left school in 2016 and I started DJing. And I was like, well, if I'm going to DJ, it only makes sense to wear my own brand. So this is, now we need to push it. And being a DJ and starting a brand at the same time is a bit much, is a whole lot. And I had to be honest with myself about which one was feeding me more, and it was the brand. And I knew I had to give 100% to one, and I couldn't just split up my time, because I was going around in circles trying to, it takes countless hours to be a great DJ, and it takes countless hours to run a business, to start a business. So I had to make a decision, and I was like, I'll stay up 48 hours working on the brand, no problem. DJing, not quite so much. So
that wasn't your passion.
Let me just stay over here and see what this is and keep chasing it. And as I've done it, it's continued to evolve. And my message to the world is self-mastery. Things are going to keep happening around us, whether we like it or not. This pandemic is a prime example, but the only thing we have control over is ourselves. And for me, that's what Superior is acknowledging nobody can make these decisions for me. I have the ability to manifest anything I desire.
I love it. I love it. And it's so interesting that, there's so much uncertainty in the world, right? I mean, there's all this, like you mentioned, things like I can only control, I can only bet on myself, all those things, right? Like, so think about all of that. So here we are, all of us are faced with this adaptation and this change and everything being thrown at us. And you kind of said, well, all right, might be a good time for me to make a change and dive into, really head first into my brand. And that's wonderful. And if you really look at some amazing stories in business and in the world of when these big changes happen, it's usually during adversity. It's usually during those changes where it's kind of like, well, what do I have to lose? So kudos to you, Koko, for diving in. We love the brand, we love the story, and that's great. All right, so Pete, wow, you're the head of a school. We know that, you have a lot going on, I'm sure. A lot of decisions, a lot of responsibility, leadership that you had to jump into. So tell us, during all of this change that was happening, what was happening in your world, and what did you do to fulfill all of taking care of, keeping everyone calm? Forget the kids. The kids are probably easy. It's the parents that are challenging. So please share with us.
Yeah, it was actually a really interesting time in my life. I was living in Illinois at the time, and in early February, I'm now at the Davidson Day School, and I had accepted this position as a head of school. I was an assistant head in Illinois. And so we had this, it's been a dream I'd been working towards for a long time, becoming a head, and especially a school as revered as this. And I'd worked on that, and then suddenly it happened. I couldn't have been happier. And then, 6 weeks later, the whole world gets turned upside down. And it was a really interesting time because we were packing up and moving. And so we were like packing up our house. We were very, we lived at the school, we were on campus, my kids attended the school. And it was a moment of just a tremendous amount of change, not just to do with the pandemic, but would have been anyway with us sort of packing up and moving. But what was really interesting, I find that when, moments in your life of great challenge sort of reveal, I would sort of call them, like, I guess, universal truths. Like, I've studied Buddhism for over 20 years. And one of the things they talk a lot about in Buddhism is impermanence, is that everything's changing. There's constant change. And there's sort of this, we live under this sort of myth that things are permanent and stay the same, whereas moment to moment, year to year, week to week, things are very, very different. And that sort of like speaks to how do we appreciate what is happening in front of us. So if I look back now at times with my family in Australia, like I've lived in the US for 12 years, they're just distant memories. But at the time, my wife and I used to live on the beach in Australia. There's one summer which is when Christmas is, we had our family over. My grandfather was still alive. All of our family were together. It was a beautiful summer's day. And you're in it and not really thinking, oh, this is going to just become a memory, but it is, right. And it's 15 years ago. And so it led to really appreciating what was happening at the time. And this is a fantastic example of just great change. And what happened is we've all realized how quickly things can be taken away. Like, even though, man, we'd all experienced it, we've all lost loved ones, things have happened and changed very quickly and unexpectedly. But it seemed to be happening like on an individual level, but suddenly it's happening to all of us at once. And really what got me through it, and sort of what I said yes to, and this was just human connection, but human connection via technology. So being in a school, something that I really loved was getting in the classrooms, being with people, meeting them, greeting them at the door, just like forming those human connections person to person. And I don't really like speaking on the phone too much, that type of thing. And as soon as we switched to virtual, I was on the phone pretty much all the time. I lived on this large school campus, and I would walk around all day, basically like with my headset in, just speaking to people, calling them, checking in, how are you, that type of thing. So I guess what I had said yes to was just that there's many ways, and we're all learning this, that we can connect with people. And something which I was like, it's not really for me, is just like having to double down on that. We created all these videos and these personal connections that we would use that as a way to connect with people. And so just how can we, like, human connection is what got us through and is getting us through now as we are on campus at my current school. But still, it's challenging with all the different protocols we have to have in place to keep kids safe. But how do we form those human connections? So recognizing that everything is in constant change. And the other thing was just like forming personal connections, even though you're not in person.
Wow, those are very profound words, all of that. So thank you for that. That's really, really enlightening. And it's interesting. Probably a couple years ago, it hit me about the whole time and how time is perceived. And we all perceive it differently, but you're correct. And it's interesting that I live my life as if this moment is a memory.
Yeah.
Because I think to myself, number one, how would I want to remember this moment right now in the future? Would I want to remember it as, for example, I'm stuck in traffic and I'm angry about being stuck in traffic? Or do I think about, well, I'm stuck in traffic, but I'm getting to listen to a podcast or my favorite song, or I'm on the phone with someone and having a conversation or whatever. But we all have that choice, right? And you're right. When you give that example of being in Australia and celebrating the holidays and everything, you're right that we all get stuck in this, we're not really truly in the moment because we're always looking ahead. But you're right, it becomes a memory. So, wow, thank you for that. That's very profound. And then the communication. You're right, even that, right? We've all taken for granted being able to go and be with our teams or our families or whatever it may be. And now we've been forced to get into new ways to communicate, and we did pretty well. I think a lot of us adjusted to getting comfortable with the camera and being able to do that. But I love that you walked around and just said, okay, I'm gonna get on the phone and connect. And that's lovely. So thank you for that. That's wonderful. I'm sure the parents truly appreciated that. So that's awesome. All right. Okay, you guys, great first question. We dove in. All right. Here's my favorite question of all. I told you this is like the challenge question. So the second question is, we all have a uniqueness, something that is a little different than everyone else, that when we share it with the world, it kind of makes it very special and lights up. So my next question is, Koko, what do you feel your superpower is?
Okay, so I had it all figured out. I was like, I know what my power is, but then last minute I was like, I'm gonna ask my boyfriend what he thinks. Like,
it's a fun conversation though, isn't it? Just to ask.
He was like, oh man, you want me to answer that right now? And I was like, yeah. I was like, please. But it was really interesting because we ultimately came to, still meet, as I really feel like it's just my vision. And as we were talking earlier, you were saying, just being able to listen to it. So for me, I would say me being able to see that vision and really just no limits, like once I see it, I have to go after it. And I think that tied along with my leadership is what people are really drawn to, is because I see it and they're like, oh, that looks good. Like, I think we want to, I think we want to join along. I think we want to be a part. And so, I'm extremely appreciative for it. I consider it a gift, it comes with a lot of responsibility.
It does. So, and Koko, I'll also add, use it for good, because there's people that have that ability that don't necessarily use it for good. Because when you're someone that people follow, that they believe in your vision, sometimes people lead them on a path that might not lead to somewhere good. So I know you are leading to something very, very good from making a difference. So keep on that path.
Thank you.
I love it. I said she's way beyond her years.
Absolutely.
I said, I'm so impressed. We're going to really watch her, right? We're going to keep an eye on her. That's for sure. All right, Pete, I want to hear the superpower.
Yeah, what's interesting when you first sort of posed that is it was hard to think, well, what do I do well? Because I'm always thinking like, how can I get better? What can I improve? And so I'm often thinking about like the areas that aren't as good as I want them to be. But then I was so it was a good sort of reflection. And then when I was a classroom teacher for 12 years
Okay.
in elementary school. And something I was really great at when I taught was to make kids feel like, to make them know that I saw them, that I cared for them, and that they
Ooh.
belonged. And so at the start of the year, I would send out surveys. I would send out surveys. I would like fill out this thing. What's your favorite sport? What do you like to do? How many people in your family? Where do you like to travel? And then use that as a springboard to something else. So a child might be, I remember one child I taught in fourth grade, he really loved World War II, right? My great grandfather is World War II. And so did extra reading to the things that he was studying so I could further connect with him on that. If someone was into, I lived in Australia. He was a great surfer. And so learn about surfing. I would sort of follow how he was going, all of those different things. And so as I've now been a school administrator, either as what's called a division head, like a principal, or now a head of school. And so I do the same thing. And so it's like my superpower is getting to know people on a really human level. So
Wow.
as I've come into this new position, I'm sitting down with everyone one-on-one. Many of them took place over the summer. I have about 100 employees. I've done about 80, had about 80-hour conversations. My first question is, where were you born? What led you to Davidson Day, right? And then most people give me like a 3-minute answer. Like I went here, here, here. And then we spent about half an hour just like, who's in your family? What did you like to do? That type of thing. And so I just uncover all these things about them as being human. And so then I feel like that I know them. And so then if I have to have a conversation or something happens, I know who they are, where they came from, what makes them sort of who they are. And another example of that is I like doing small little things for people, but I don't like getting people gifts they don't like. And I used to be a terrible gift giver. Quick story. So I created a little survey, 6 or 7 questions, originally sent it to my wife years ago and said, like, what's your favorite flower? What gift cards you like getting? Because I wasn't getting her the level of things that she really liked. She loved it. It was so helpful. Sent it to our family. They all filled it out. And so then just last week, I created a similar one, sent it to all the people at our school. And now I still have a few more responses to get, but I have about 70 responses of like, what's your favorite, like if you could get, what's your favorite drink? If you could get a snack, what would it be? What's your favorite alcoholic beverage, non-alcoholic beverage? What's your favorite flowers? What gifts do you like getting? What's your favorite gift card? What gifts do you not like getting? And so then I've just been over the last few days, just before I come to work, just buying people those small things. So
wow.
might be a pumpkin spice latte. Yesterday was spicy chips that the person likes. A lot of people like Diet Coke, so I'm going to go buy some Diet Coke. But just like small little things that, but I think it helps people feel seen. So I think my superpower is just that ability to make people feel seen and feel important.
Wow. Well, you guys have some incredible superpowers because they are life-changing and positive effect to many others. And Pete, I don't think there could be a better thing than to be able to see and hear someone else.
Oh, thanks.
Sounds so simple, but yet it's not. So that is powerful. Both of you have life-changing abilities that I know it's a difficult exercise. I don't know why. I don't know why we struggle with actually admitting, look at these wonderful things that you guys are doing, but yet it just seems awkward actually saying it about yourself, right? So don't hide it. Let it shine to the world because you're awesome. You're absolutely incredible. Okay, now I get to hear who will join me for next week. Okay, so first up, I do have a third person that will be joining me. She couldn't make it this week, so she'll be here next week. So that is Sonia Luchower. She is the president of DHI Mortgage. And Koko, who will be joining Sonia?
Okay, so I have nominated, her name is Marissa Williams, and I would actually almost consider her a superwoman. So I'm sure she has a superpower. She does so many things. So I'm going to let her announce herself. Like,
Okay.
blown away because I don't want to miss anything, but just a woman of just making it happen. I think Thrive Thursday, like she's a woman who exemplifies, thriving. So
Love
that
it. Awesome. Can't wait to hear her story. All right, Pete, who will we have?
So the person that I asked, actually speaking to with when we spoke to Koko a few days ago, and she was talking about her ability to sort of see things and make them happen. It's someone that I work with that has sort of that ability to
Mm.
create, like sort of have a vision and then turn it into reality. And so he's a little bit reluctant at the moment. He's just, will I have enough to say? I'm like, it'd be awesome, but
Oh,
he
yes.
is so one of the teachers I work with. Can I reveal the name later, or do you want me to tell you now? I have a surprise. What you want?
No, I want his name. Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be great.
his name's
And
Matt.
and I promise we will make him feel very
Yes.
welcome and he'll have a lot of fun. So who will
So
we
his
have?
name's Matt Saunders, and what he does, he is an archaeologist, and
Oh,
he each year we send four groups of. It's been different with COVID, but
yeah.
he takes four groups of children around the world
Get
and
out.
to unearth real archaeological sites. So the picture on my left shoulder
Yeah.
there, that's actually, they found that in Belize. The kids were unearthing this historical site, and it's from the Mayan people in
Wow.
Belize. And so he takes groups of kids to Belize, a group of children each year to Belize, Greece, Portugal, and Spain, and they dig real archaeological sites. And it's I think we're the only school in the world that sends students, like high school and middle school students, to do field work. And so he started off doing that, but also now he runs conferences and has a journal, like has a peer-reviewed journal. He just, his ability to just see things and just sort of make them happen. So I asked him to be involved.
Wow, that sounds so fascinating. I certainly have not met anybody like that. So we certainly want to hear his story. Please
Yeah.
encourage him. Wow. Well, you guys are amazing. Obviously, you're thriving. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep spreading your superpowers to the world. And you obviously are affecting many others. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we wish you well in everything.
Thank you so
bye.
much for the opportunity. Thanks a lot.